tuned in to Insight Sundays, the show that brings you relevant news, youth topics with a new mission and focus for our communities.
Indianapolis, it's your main man Adrian Mickens, and I'm here with my co-star co-host
David Kegler.
And once again, we have another all-star studded show for you today. But right before we do that, we want to give a shout out to all of our sponsors, which are Andrew J. Brown Academy, Buttons and Bows Hair Salon, Bethesda Southeast Campus, RNS Menswear, Studio 14 Hair Salon, Sam Ash Music Store, and Beach Grove Bible Church. All right, so Indianapolis, we're going to have a little bit of a serious show here today. I guess somewhat. We're going to stay in the realm of education. And we have selected on the show today one of the top educators, who I consider one of the top educators here in the city. We're going to start right here. What is your name?
Hello, Indianapolis. I am Ioannis Williams, proud educator at Andrew J. Brown Academy.
All right. And
my name is Trinae Christian, and I am also a proud educator at Harshman Middle School.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So what we're going to do is go down here through a list of what I consider to be questions that I know that the public really has about improving the education in the nation. But as we always say, take care of home first. So right here in our own backyard in Indianapolis, Indiana, what we need to do, or just in the state of Indiana for that matter, because we're all one Hoosiers, as they say. So the very first question that I have, and again, we can just go around the other table here, is what is the difference between education in the late 20th century to now what we consider the 21st century? What would you consider would be the difference?
I would consider one of the major differences to be the use of technology. Mm-hmm. Our students today, they're surrounded by technology tremendously outside of school. So the more that we can expose that to them with the academic needs that they need, the better off they'll be, because that's what they're geared towards. That's what keeps their attention. So more computer programs, things that they can do at school as well as at home. So I know that's what we focus on a lot at Andrew J. Brown. Okay,
and I'm going to come back to that technology portion that you were talking about, which is really heavy now in the 21st century with our students and teachers for that matter. But I'm going to come back to that. What would you say the difference in education between the late 20th century up until right now? We've went through that transition as being, 90s, children up until now, and we've seen that, that progression. So what would you say?
I would say in addition to technology, because I do believe that is the most prominent.
A little closer.
Little closer. Mm-hmm. That is the most prominent piece or the difference between the 20th and 21st century. Mm-hmm. But in addition to that, I would actually have to say our approach to education in general, and just how we teach students and the overall structure and atmosphere in the classroom. I think a lot of times now it's so focused on engagement and having technology as the foundational base that it was more of a supplemental piece during the 20th century.
Would you say our level of learning, as, I know a couple of you guys you're a 90s graduate. Were you a 90s graduate?
90s graduate.
90s graduate. Were you no. So we 2000 graduates. I was 05. Which one was yours?
I was 03.
03. All right. So I was 05. So we got some 90s graduates.
That's right.
And we got some early 2000s graduates, including myself. I would say there was a big difference on the way that we learn material. Do you think that the kids are children are furthermore advanced now than what we had technology-wise?
Definitely technology-wise.
And resources, for that matter,
yes.
Too.
But as far as from when we graduated high school and the whole middle school, it just seems like now we just have to be more creative. We definitely have to be more creative. It was more so, here's your assignment, go home. This is your homework. Read this. We'll go over it tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Now we have to do a little bit more to keep them, as Trinae said, engaged.
Do you feel that what they were teaching, I want to say necessarily, per se, what they were teaching you guys in the 90s for the 90s graduates was just to go right into the workforce? Or do you think they were teaching you guys to be your own boss, run your own company? Be the top at what you were? Do you think that was the case too?
No, I honestly do believe that it was more so geared towards being college ready, going into college. The question was always, what do you want to be when you grow up? And whenever you stated what that was, then it was, okay, these are the things you need to do to prepare yourself for that type of profession.
Gotcha.
Now, so I do believe that it is more so we need to focus on becoming entrepreneurs because that's the wave of the future.
I think it's also what you took from it, because I was in a class with a bunch of knuckleheads, and, you know, you could be the AB student, and then you got like the FD student sitting next to you. So it was geared to where if you didn't do, you just didn't do.
Gotcha. I understand. Well, let me ask this next question. How has the behavior changed? And we can definitely go around on that one, but give it to me straight, because I've actually, once again, for everybody who's listening, you can find us on Facebook at Insight Sundays. Once again, that's Facebook, Insight Sundays. You can see us live, make your comments. But I've seen Yoannis live in action, and it was so good because she's crafty at what she does. She got her message across. I've seen a crying student, almost crying to tears. She got him to calm down and still got her point across, because you're going to get what I'm telling you to get, which was some mathematics stuff you were trying to teach them. So how has the behavior changed?
Oh, my goodness. It has changed tremendously. You know, day in, day out, I'm faced with students that, you know, from the outside looking in, it's easy to just say, oh, they don't care. You know, they don't care about their education. They don't care about what's going to happen to them. But at the same time, we don't necessarily know what the outside factors are that are, you know, that are hindering them from performing in the classroom. You know, some students, unfortunately, the structure that we have at school is the only structure that they have throughout their entire day. You know, we don't know if there's somebody that's actually at home getting them up, getting them prepared for school, you know, speaking greatness into them.
Yes.
So if it's unfamiliar to them, when they hear it from us as educators, it's like, how do I receive this? Because nobody else is saying this to me. So are you coming from a loving place, or are you coming from just a, you know, as an authoritative figure that this is what I need to do?
And they know the difference.
They definitely know the difference. And I just try to, you know, get the point across to them that your behaviors are going to hinder you. You know, calm down. It's okay. This is the place where you can express yourself, and we can get down to whatever we need to get past it, to get the point across, to get the lesson to you.
Ms. Janae?
Fortunately and or unfortunately, I teach middle school. So it's a little different.
You guys are in the same boat there.
Yes. I think, and I teach 8th grade, so my students are entering high school next year. And I tell them that all the time. So in terms of their behavior, it is probably one of the most dominant factors of how you will perform academically. A lot of times when students don't understand something, they completely, they either shut down or they become a total disruption.
Absolutely.
And it becomes a defense mechanism for them. And a lot of times, many teachers don't know what to do. So because they don't know what to do, it just continues and it grows, and it becomes, this is okay. This is okay. And so when you're trying to speak greatness into them, or where you're trying to create structure that is unfamiliar and sometimes foreign to them, you meet a lot of rebuttal.
From an ethnicity standpoint, you know, we hear a lot from the African American community that it takes an African American teacher, male or female, to teach our children. You know, so do you guys agree with that, or do you disagree with that? Because knowledge is knowledge.
Knowledge is
agree.
knowledge.
I
agree and disagree.
Okay.
You know, I think it takes the right educator. A lot of times we're faced with educators that are coming straight out of college that have not had that experience. And
deer in headlights.
You know, absolutely, deer in headlights. And then when you're faced with a very challenging class, because now, you know, when we were coming up, there may have been 2 or 3 in the classroom that might have been cutting up. But now when you have 6, 8 in a classroom that are cutting up, that's a beast. It's a beast to deal with. And it's hard to reel them all back in because, like you said, you know, you have an AB student over here or a DF student over here, and they're like, okay, well, they're clowning, and there's not a whole lot we can do because ultimately we don't want them to not be in school. We want them to be in school because being at home is going to do what? Absolutely nothing. So we want them to be in school, but if they're too much of a disruption, then we've got to do something else.
Okay. All right.
This is an ongoing conversation at my school.
Okay.
Me personally, I with you, I agree and I disagree. I think that being a teacher or teaching students of color when you're not of color, I think that you just have to have a different level of cultural sensitivity and awareness. And a lot of times people just don't want to hear that, you know, but nobody also wants to hear that because I'm white, I can't teach children of color. And I agree. I think that it's a discrimination that is unnecessary. But I think that we just need to be mindful of how they teach our children, how our children learn, and how you can approach them. I will say that a lot of my students have said that they enjoy learning from me because I am Black, you know. And I think that, I don't know if it's that I do anything differently so much as that I just understand them a little bit more, in addition to the material that I bring. You know, like right now we're working out of a novel called The Absolute True Diary of a Part-Time Indian. And it's about a young man who's a Native American, and he's becoming, you know, one with himself and, you know, just really accepting who he is. But our precursor to studying the novel was studying just Native Americans. You know, my kids were like, are there Black Native Americans? Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, and let me show you this. And, you know, they're like, so Christopher Columbus didn't discover America?
No.
No.
Right.
No.
Not
at all. He stumbled upon it. Yeah, you know, but when you've been taught that he did, and then there's this Black woman who stands in front of you at the age of 14 and tells you, no, you know, it's like, oh, wow. You know, so it's different.
And then when you get that, now the kids, or specifically children, they'll feel like they're more intelligent than the teacher. So now you have a whole new animal.
This is true.
In the classroom.
Yes.
You have a whole new animal in the classroom
very true.
when the student feels like they're more intelligent than the teacher. Dave, I want to ask you this question because I know that, you know, you're not a specific teacher or educator. So as a parent, on the outside looking in, you know, little Dave he's 7 now, eight now. So he's 8 now. So, you know, I know you're, you know, heavy, you know, on him, making sure he's doing what he's supposed to be doing at all times. Behavioral wise, what would you say you've seen how other kids may influence other kids at his age in elementary school?
It seems like it is so easy. It's like they just get sucked into the sucker. That's like the best way to put it, you know, because there's a lot of kids that are good, but like the way they teach now is, and I don't know if you ladies know this, but they teach all the kids in blocks of like 4 and 6, to whereas when we were growing up, it was your desk, your desk, your desk, your desk. So now they teach them in blocks. So what they try to do is, like if you got 6 jokers in your class, you separate the 6 jokers and put them with 5 other good students to try to null down the silliness.
Yeah.
But one thing I do find is there are not enough males in education.
Absolutely.
There are clearly not enough males because if you walk through the hallway of most schools, all of your teachers, majority are females. And then when you do got that one male, he's like the gym teacher or something, you know. Like
stereotypical.
Yeah, you know, study hall guy.
That's a very good point that you mentioned. As a female teacher, would you feel safer? You know, so many schools now have security, especially a lot of these high schools, like on-site security guards walking around school with the dogs. I've seen it at LN, which is where I graduated from. Would you feel more safer day-to-day having strong male teachers, strong-minded and physically strong for that matter too, but strong-minded teachers, male teachers, who could assist you all when you have a situation where you got a male student who's cutting up in your classroom and all of a sudden, you know, and you guys are in middle school, so they ain't that much taller than you. Some of you may get that 8th grader.
They're huge.
They're
towering me.
But in high school, it can become a point where it seems, you know, inferior to that point. So would you feel safer having that on-call male teacher, as you know, would have your back when you would need them?
Absolutely. And I think it's, you know, it goes a little bit further than just having them as a protector per se, but just having the male presence, period, just for our young male students, just to see that, you know, you don't have to be an NBA player. You don't have to, you know, play football. You don't have to be a rapper. You can succeed in other avenues. And, you know, just for us to say it is one thing, but for them to actually see it is a totally different situation.
It is.
I actually have a co-teacher. a SPED co-teacher in my room, and he is about 6'3".
Okay.
And
So you already
he's
got the
huge.
protection.
It's really different though. It's the irony in that you saying that he would be the protector because he's the sugar and I'm the stern.
Oh, okay.
So
I got
it's
you.
like it's like that. You would think that that's the case,
Mm-hmm.
but if anything, they run to him for protection from me.
Gotcha.
So it is really weird.
I get what you're saying on that because they got to respect the head of
Yes.
the classroom. I'm
Yes.
speaking in terms of if a fight broke out
Yes.
in your
No,
room,
no.
which is
I
what's going on
understand.
right now.
I
Like,
understand.
We've
I
seen
understand.
the one on Facebook and on YouTube
Yes,
now where
yes,
the teacher, he gave a
yes.
real whooping
Yeah.
with a belt.
Yeah.
You know, but what do you do?
What
when
do you do?
got- When you got
What
students
do you
throwing
do?
desks in your
What do you-
classroom.
But you know what? I think a lot of that has to do with the atmosphere and the community that you have in your room.
Yeah.
Because I can honestly say, I'm going to knock on some wood somewhere, but
got you.
I don't feel as though any of my students, I have 132 students, I just cannot tell you which one of them that I honestly feel like would ever toss a desk in my room. Like I don't have that atmosphere in my room,
But the
even
key
in my
is-
worst class.
But the key is in your room when the bell rings. You see what I mean?
But see, that comes with the culture that you create in your room. You have to teach. I'm a student at Marian University, and my professor always teaches us you have to teach students how to do school in your room.
Yes.
How will you behave in my room? How will you hold yourself accountable in my room? What does that look like in my room? And if we are all practicing that, when are you tossing a desk?
Oh, that's
There's
the
no
thing,
time.
though. Everybody's not practicing stuff
Oh, I
across the
agree.
board. See,
Exactly.
what a lot of people don't know
I
is
agree.
So-
Mr. Mickens used to run a class, and I sat in on the class for about a week or so, and everybody knows, hey, in Mr. Mickens' room, there is no cell phones, there is no drinking, there's no eating. We got students sitting over in the corner, like trying to crunch down a cookies and cream bar, or
Making all the noise in the world.
yeah. And the funny thing is, most students have big cell phones like this. If your pants are so tight that you can't put your phone in your
Right.
pocket,
Skinny jeans.
leave it in your locker.
Yes.
And the rules were not followed throughout the school,
school.
but just
Absolutely.
in that
Itself,
room,
yes.
it's like we enforced it, and then, well, my last period teacher didn't care. I can eat in my last class. Miss such and such let me eat in her room, but this
yeah.
is not Miss such and such's
And that's what I tell
room.
'em.
So what? So as top tier educators, you know, we just did a after school program thing. As a top tier educator, how frustrating is that to you? For you to make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to do, and then the one directly across the hall that you got when the bell ring, you looking at her or him, and you know they ain't doing what they supposed to be doing. They had all the meetings, they had every after school type
same
thing
information
supposed
you
to be
get.
the same information, the exact same information you get. How do you feel as a teacher? Speak to them.
Oh my goodness, it is so frustrating because at the end of the day, we want to be on one accord. You know, I say one band, one sound, and I say that, with all the feeling that I possibly can, because it just diminishes my authority in my learning environment, and it creates a problem. And I never want a student to necessarily put another teacher on blast. Well, so and so let me do it, or someone, or whatever. They didn't have a problem. But if it's a rule, it's a rule. It's a rule, in this room, the room next door, or wherever. So just follow the rules and help me help you.
Yes.
That's how I feel.
What would you say?
Fortunately,
Or how you
not-
feel?
I completely agree. Fortunately, I can honestly say for me that it isn't a real issue. Our kids are structured according to teams. I have a great team. So, when we say this is what we're doing across the board, it is what we are doing across the board. Now, we may revisit things and say, okay, this isn't really working in my room. Is it working for you? We restructure things. But I can honestly say, for the most part, we are on one accord.
Gotcha.
Thing is, though, that carries over into early 19s, 20, 21, 22. 'Cause I have some people that I manage in my group. And, well, why can't we go do that? They're doing that. And it's like, because I manage this group here, and this is what we're going to do. I always tell my people, be the rule, not the exception.
Absolutely.
And the thing is, everybody wants to be the exception, even to their early 20s. They're like, well, I want to do that. It's like, that's
Take it to the workforce.
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah.
yeah, they do. They bring that to the
They do.
workforce.
I
Absolutely.
believe it.
So let me ask this question because I know we was talking about it earlier. I know both of y'all can't wait to answer this question. I step. Keep it or do away with it? You honest?
For me, in our school situation, I say do away with it primarily because our students, in my opinion, test a lot. You know, we have the NWEA test, we have the iStep, our third graders, they're getting ready for the read test. So there's constantly some type of testing going on. And at the end of the day, if I'm doing all of my work in class, and this is what you should be basing everything off of. This is what I'm producing on a day in, day out basis. You know, one test, I might get lucky and just pass it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that I've mastered those skills.
Yeah.
Or I may bomb it, but I'm doing well in the classroom.
Now, AJB improved from I think it was an F.
It was.
And we got a C.
We have a C now.
Yeah, we got a C now. So that's,
Praises be.
And again, I mean, I know you do specifically the back end work as an interventionist. And your job is to make sure they get it.
Yes.
Bottom line. Like, before you walk back in this classroom, you got it. So how was it preparing the students for the test? Because you have to deal with the anxiety and the fear. Like, I'm in this room now. What you mean? Like, do they feel like they're in a stupid room? I mean, I hate to say it like that, but do they feel like they're in a stupid room?
Some of them do feel like that. Unfortunately, we are seeing a lot of students that probably don't necessarily need to be in our learning center. That's our room at school now. They don't necessarily need to be in there, but that's because they did not take the test seriously the first time that they took it. You know, I'm like, okay, well, if you're going to be a clicker, you're just going to click through your test. You're going to be in the clicker group. So, you know, I just try to emphasize to them, because we actually just finished up this past week with another round of testing. Take it seriously, because these scores determine whether you're in your classroom or if you're in here, you know, in small groups with me. A lot of it is anxiety because it is a lot of pressure. You know, they're told, well, if you don't pass the test, then you're not going to go on to the next grade or what have you. So I kind of just try to put all of that at ease and just do your best. You know, just, you know what you know. Don't get stuck on a question. If you don't know it, move on.
All right, we're gonna swing it around once again for everybody. I got a caller once again. Just chime in with us on Facebook at Insight Sundays. Once again, that's Facebook at Insight Sundays. You can see our live feed, and you can make all of your questions, comments, and concerns on the feed. So we can just pick back up on that question. Keep our step or do away with it, Miss Trinae.
Do away.
Okay.
Do away. So, and I have to give you my perspective solely from my school, my building. Our student population is 52% Hispanic, Latino. A lot of our students come in level 1 English.
Yes.
ELL students, which means they speak no English. But they are still expected to take this same standardized testing.
Yeah.
That is absurd. That is asinine. You cannot expect these students to do well and they don't even speak the language.
Yeah.
And you don't even give them time. They give them a year. Okay, in a year you're supposed to learn the language. Like, that's not even a realistic expectation.
No.
And so what they do is they make everyone take this test. They don't account for those students. They don't properly account for students who have learning disabilities. Their solution to that is, oh, we'll give them time and a half.
Yep.
They don't account for students who have test anxiety. There's so many other factors that go into how to properly assess our students. And my issue with these tests is that, what does it measure? What are you truly getting from these results and this data? What does it measure?
Gotcha.
And more importantly, I think that what it does is it creates this unnecessary pressure for a student. And it almost diminishes what it is that they produce in the classroom. Because what you're telling them is most of your success is wound in this test. So completely disregard what you produced in the classroom.
Yeah.
And why? Why? I just think, I think that it's crazy. I don't like it. I'm not a fan of it. And honestly, to me, it's not an end-all to be-all, because students can still be successful and fail ISTEP. And that's what I tell parents all the time. Well, he failed ISTEP. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
And I have to be honest with them. I did too. I failed a few. I have 3 degrees. It's okay. That's what I tell them. It's okay.
Go ahead, Miss
It's okay. And so they're just like, oh, and they're like, really? Yes, you can still be successful. It's okay. It's okay. But, you know, the language that we're using and how we're structuring these tests. And my issue is I believe in equity versus equality. Mm-hmm. And so when we give these tests, we give them to them equally, but we're assuming that they're starting at the same starting point. And we know that that's not true.
And just like what you said, too, at Andrew J. Brown, that was a first good glimpse that I've really seen a strong diversity where there were, I won't say that there's more Spanish-speaking students that go to that school, but it's a big percentage.
Absolutely.
That is. And I really like that about Andrew J. Brown. I haven't got a chance to, check out yours, but I have seen Andrew J. Brown, and that's a very good thing that we are catering to all cultures. Mm-hmm. Because if we say we want to live in a diverse world, it has to be taught diversely as a child is growing up. Again, as we were 2000 graduates. When I looked to my left, I seen a black kid. When I looked to my left, I seen a white kid. When I looked up front, I seen a Korean kid. It was diverse in our time, growing up. So I wish the show was an hour. We only got 30 minutes. This is going to be the last wrap-up question. We can say it all in about 45 seconds to a minute, or just keep it to 30 seconds. Let's just do that. What would you say to the parents that can assist you every day to make sure that when the kid comes to your classroom, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing? Because I feel like we've lost the fear at home, and that's the problem. And so, Mr. David, again, he's not a teacher, but he is a parent. And I've seen it firsthand where he gets into little Dave like it ain't nobody's business. Big Dave was raised militant style, so he got the military in him. So what would you say to the parents at home to help you day to day to make sure that your class flows with each child?
Absolutely. As a parent and to the parents, I just say just encourage your children just to give their best day in and day out. Remind them that they are a reflection of you when they enter into their schools. So if you're coming in and you're cutting up, chances are I'm going to believe that you're not being taught what you need to be taught at home. Yep. And no parent wants to feel embarrassed by their child. Absolutely. So just encourage them, and also just instill that confidence in them, because a lot of our students, they could perform so much better if they just had the confidence that they need.
Yes. Janae?
I would have to say, in addition to speaking greatness in your child, because I do believe that it starts at home, but communication and open dialogue. A lot of times parents just feel like they don't know what's going on, and for some reason they feel like they can't ask, or it's not their job, it's not their place, it's not, it takes a village. So it's not me by myself. I can't do it by myself. So communicate. What do you, if you have suggestions for me, please. I tell all my parents, what can I do to better or create a better, person in your child, and a better student. So I would say communicate and just have an open dialogue with teachers.
Absolutely. And I will say, to ditto what Trinae just said, it starts at an early age to start influencing your child young. We're talking like from baby young. Yeah. As a little announcement, I got engaged yesterday, and Trinae was there to see that as her best friend. She was there. I appreciate that. But in accounts to that, we're also going to have our first baby girl be here. She'll be here in January. And thank you again. And already, I take time to speak to Danielle's belly. She can
absolutely
hear.
Yes, she can.
And you speaking to it now. And the reason why I say that, there was a video, a gentleman called Michael Jr., and he spoke to his child in the womb. And when she came out, she was just crying like all babies do in the hospital. And about 2 or 3 times, he went over to the baby and he would talk to her, and she would stop every time because she automatically recognized his voice.
Absolutely.
And she had her eyes closed the whole time. And he said something specifically. He said, "I love you." And she opened up her eyes and she looked at him. So speak to your child early on. We're running out of time. Once again, find us on Facebook, Insight Sundays. We appreciate you guys so very much for tuning in. Tune in next week. We're going to have a special prayer to bring in our new year a little bit ahead of time. We appreciate it. See you guys next week.